Okay, so our article begins by saying Junjun wakes up for school and immediately realizes something's wrong.
Oh no, that would be terrible. You just wake up and something's wrong. I know it. How do you know? Do you smell something? Do you hear something? Or is it just a feeling?
Or maybe she woke up and she's not in the room that she fell asleep in.
Oh, well, something isn't
like
in
that.
the room.
Yeah,
I see.
Okay, so let's actually take a look at our first vocabulary word, immediately. Okay, I-M-M-E-D-I-A-T-E-L-Y, immediately. It's an adverb and it means right away. Okay, for example, Agatha immediately replied the urgent email. So it was an important email. She had to reply right away.
Yeah, she read it. She didn't wait. She didn't do something else. She just, right, I'll do a reply. I'll write my reply very quickly. Okay, so how does she know immediately something's wrong? She doesn't have to look around or go downstairs. She knows the second she wakes up. And why? Well, we can see that her grandfather is looking under her bed.
Ooh, that's kind of scary, actually.
Okay, so wake up. Oh, there's Grandpa. What?
And he's
Grandpa, what are you doing? Why are you looking under my bed?
Okay, our article says something of his is missing, and Junjun is determined to help him find it. Okay, so that's why he's looking under the bed.
Okay, something's missing, which I believe is the title of today's article. Something's missing. I think it's the title of the book as well. I'll have to check that, but I think it is. So something's missing. Something is not there.
Yeah.
Something that should be there isn't.
Okay.
And that's a problem.
So here we see our second vocabulary word, determined. D-E-T-E-R-M-I-N-E-D, determined. If you are determined to do something, you will do anything to make sure it happens. For example, if you're determined to get an A on a test, well, you'll have to study really hard, right?
That's right.
We can use determined in an example sentence. The police were determined to catch the thief.
Yeah, they were like, nothing is going to stop us. We will find the thief. And there's a little clue in there because that is an adjective that ends with ed, which often is, or almost always describes how a person feels, like bored, tired, excited, and so on, okay? So you are determined, that means it's how you feel. You will do something. You will achieve something. Here, we're talking about this little girl, Junjun, and she is determined to help Grandpa. She's not going to let anything stop her. Okay. However, it's not as easy as that may sound, because as our next sentence shows, there's only one problem. She speaks Chinese, a language her grandfather is not fluent in.
I see.
So this is where we bring it back to you.
Yeah.
So what would you do in this situation?
I might get somebody to help me translate.
So you had a translator in that. Who was the translator?
Usually my aunts.
Okay,
yeah,
so
my
the auntie, come here. I need to try and talk with Grandpa. We need to figure stuff out. Okay, now in that last sentence, we saw the word fluent. Fluent is spelled F-L-U-E-N-T, fluent. And if you're fluent, there's two meanings to it.
Okay.
The first is that you're able to explain yourself clearly and express your meaning, okay? A fluent speaker of pretty much anything. And it just means you can communicate well. But when we're talking about a language, French, English, Japanese, Chinese, and so on, if you're fluent, then it means you can speak and understand another language easily and accurately, okay? You understand like almost 100% of everything that's said. You can reply, you can read it, you can write it, you don't get stuck. Now, big confession here with our example sentence. Even though Pat has lived in Taiwan for almost 9 years, he is still not a fluent Chinese speaker.
It's okay, you don't have to be fluent because you're fluent in English as long as you can
just about fluent.
Speak Chinese.
Yeah, I can understand little bits and I can speak little bits and read a few words and stuff like that. But if someone said, okay, Pat, we need you to teach a Chinese class on classical music from the 18th century.
In Chinese?
In Chinese.
Do you think
I wouldn't even be able to start.
Do you even think our local editors could do that in Chinese? Classical music, a subject that they're not...
If they had time to just read about it and research it, they could. They'd know all the right words to say. So we're in an unusual situation here because Junjun speaks Chinese, but her grandpa doesn't. Okay, we will find out and we'll talk about later how this book is kind of set in Taiwan. And this isn't unusual because my wife's grandmother, she speaks mostly Taiwanese and Japanese at home.
Oh, okay.
She can speak Chinese, but it's not a language she grew up speaking. So I can imagine a similar sort of situation.
So how do you communicate with her grandmother?
I speak Chinese and she can kind of... She understands enough and I can't speak well enough. It's only easy words, so that's fine.
And a lot of pointing, right?
A little bit, yeah.
Okay, so it's no surprise that our article says, thus, she, Junjun, has a hard time understanding what he's searching for. Okay, so if you're searching for something or somebody, you're looking for or trying to find something or somebody.
Okay, we also saw the phrase have a hard time doing something, okay? If you have a hard time doing something, you find that thing very difficult. And note that we always use the V-ing form of the verb here. For example, I have a hard time understanding math, or someone has a hard time tying their shoes. So we could say, I have a hard time with plus noun. For example, I have a hard time with Chinese, but if we're using the verb, it's got to be that V-ing.
I see.
Okay, so this is how the book Something's Missing begins. So, yeah, I was right. That is the title of the article, as our article just says there. This is how the book Something's Missing begins.
And the article tells us more about this book, okay? Through its colorful pages, readers follow Junjun's journey around her neighborhood to try to retrieve what her grandfather has lost.
Okay, now we're going to take a closer look at the word neighborhood.
Let's take a look at our fourth vocabulary word, neighborhood. N-E-I-G-H-B-O-R-H-O-O-D, neighborhood. So a neighborhood refers to an area of a town. Which neighborhood do you live in, Pat?
I live in Zhongshan district. I mean, that's quite big. If I close down my neighborhood, it's the neighborhood around Xinsheng North Road. That sort of neighborhood around that area.
Okay. So would we say that Zhongshan is considered kind of your neighborhood, I guess?
It's a district. That's a little neighborhood usually means just a few kind of streets and things that are within maybe 15 minutes walk of your house. So maybe Zhongshan North Road kind of is part of my neighborhood and so on. Here's an example sentence. Da'an is one of the most expensive neighborhoods in Taipei. So that means to buy a house there, it's going to cost a lot of money. Now in that sentence we also saw the word retrieve, which is to get back something that is missing or something that is in another place and bring it back to where you are. So you could retrieve your wallet from the police station if you lost it, or go to your brother's room to retrieve the book he borrowed and never gave back.
Has that happened to you before?
Well, if my brothers read as much as I did, they don't read so much. So let's get on with the article. When Junjun asks her grandpa what he is looking for, he tries to act something out.
That's interesting.
Yeah, body language, like you said. Now here, act something out or act out, this means to use body language to try to explain an action, an idea, or a need to someone who is watching. You can't use your voice, you have to use body language.
I see. That actually reminds me of the game charades.
Yes.
You know the game charades, C-H-A-R-A-D-E-S, charades? Well, it's a game in which a person has to act out a word or a phrase, and other people have to guess.
It's a lot of movie titles or sort of book titles. It's a book, it's got 2 words, that kind of thing.
Okay, so going back to our article, armed with the drawings she's made of his actions, she hits the streets. So before we continue with the article, let's take a break to watch our Shortcut for You video to learn more about the phrase armed with.